in this module, we're going to talk about one of the most important aspects of getting notice on TikTok Shop, and that is working with creators. Now, Vincent, how important is it to work with creators in order to get my product seen?
I would say critical, really. So whenever we discuss creators at TikTok and TikTok Shop, we always say the same thing, that creators are the cornerstone of TikTok and TikTok Shop. And it's because if our brand is really set up as social commerce, right? Allowing these authentic experiences and conversations between brands and consumers, creators are really like the faces of these communities. And I always love advocating for it because it's actually not a scary thing. If anything, to any of the merchants or brands that are watching, it's actually a great tool in your toolkit where, you know, throughout this training course, I've mentioned a couple of things like, oh, you need to be authentic with your content. You need to, you know, capitalize on community. Some of us might be sitting there going like, how do I do that? Like I have organizing products. What are you talking about, Vincent? The great thing about working with creators is one, again, we almost make it too easy with the various tools that we have on hand. But you're almost able to cheat your way into an authenticity add-on already, because these creators, especially the ones in our network, they've been popular on the platform. We have over 100,000 creators ready to promote your products, and they come with their own built-in audiences. So as you're putting out your own videos, as you kind of give your product to a creator to talk about, you almost get that captive audience, and it starts to spread through where other creators start to see what these creators are sharing. So you're able to just reach more shoppers by leveraging them. And for me, the greatest win is it's commission based, and you don't pay that commission until something's sold. Yeah. So it makes it less pressure for the brands as well as you start to work with creators.
I want to just bring out something too, that for people who are not experienced with TikTok Shop, but are kind of have dabbled in influencer marketing as it's known out there, is it can get expensive out there. And, you know, like where you have to pay some big upfront fee and then pay a commission in addition to that. But what happens on other platforms, from what I've seen, is that you have this tendency to look for influencers or creators that have really high followers and like huge engagements. And let me tell you guys, on TikTok Shop, of course, if you've got somebody who is right up your alley and they've got, you know, 1 million followers, well, that's wonderful. But you do not have to focus only on those that have huge followers already. Micro influencers or smaller creators, they might only have 200, 400 followers. I have seen videos from individuals like this get hundreds of thousands, even millions of views because of how awesome the TikTok algorithm is. It doesn't kind of like discriminate, I guess you could say, based on the number of influencers. Whereas other platforms, yeah, if you only have 300 followers, it's very doubtful your video is going to go viral. So that's something that is super cool that I learned from others, and then I proved myself when I was reaching out to influencers. I wasn't trying to say, hey, let me find a minimum of 10,000 followers or 100,000 followers. Somebody with 200, 400, 500, or they're brand new, they could make a great video and it could completely go to the moon.
We'll have a couple of options, but I think as you're in, again, TikTok Shop, Seller Center, your operational hub, here on the left, if you click into affiliate, all the way in the top right, again, we have a lot of different educational materials for all of you. But if you click to go to Affiliate Center, this is where you'll see that we've made it really easy to connect with our network of creators. And I think as you start off with TikTok Shop, you'll really be looking up here in the collaboration area, either looking at open collaborations or target collaborations. Really, if I was going to guide you guys through this, the way I would phrase this in simple terms is open collaboration is kind of where you put your product out there for anyone to really say, hey, I would love to participate with that. And you still get to choose who am I actually going to send a sample to that I trust. Mm-hmm. But then on the inverse, if you've kind of been doing this already, you know what you want. Target collaboration is where you're truly going to specifically target the creators that you want. That way you have more sense of control. Because I think to something that you mentioned earlier, that is something we need to think about is as you start to work with these creators, you're kind of running the campaign in a way is something to keep in mind. It's great because you decide who you want to send the sample to. as we look through and find creators as you put things in here, you'll be able to look at like what are the sales that they generated, things like that. And that's something that I think is really important to just distinguish, that I highlight with a lot of people, is as you're looking through creators, we've talked about it, right? Some of the biggest ones that have a huge following. One, I'm always big on looking through these creators and starting to mentally differentiate who might be great for awareness, where they have a large audience, they'll talk about your product and a lot of people will be aware of it. But that doesn't always one-to-one correlate with who actually converts their followers into sales. So really great to look through here. Again, you don't pay any of these creators until they make a sale, and then it's commission-based, where you get to decide what is that target commission rate. So kind of low pressure in that way. But do keep in mind, I don't want to make it seem too easy, because you do have to decide who to send a sample to, when do I want them to post the video, right? Thinking about that. And I think something to keep in mind with owning these campaigns as well is you also need to think about the way that your brand is discussed. You may need to send them talking points if you want it highlighted in a certain way. Otherwise, the inverse is great, where you kind of keep it open for them and they can decide about how to highlight this product in a way that they think their audience will resonate with. So a couple of give and take, but we have other options as well. If kind of managing this and targeting or working with creators that reach out to you seems a little scary.
Yeah, so like me, what I did, I wasn't joking about it in an earlier module where I said, black lipstick and earrings on the face and tattoos and things. That's literally what I was looking for, because that, in my history of selling this kind of product of coffin shelves and spooky decor, like I know that is a good market for who would buy this kind of product. And so what I did was I went here to this find creators, and I would like put in a word like witch or gothic or something. And then what I would do is I would just kind of like look at the kind of videos that they were doing, or see if something like stuck out. And like, for example, let me click on somebody here. I can click on their profile here. I could see, hey, how many items have they sold? What's their GMV per customer? What is their post rate? All right. Now, what this is, it says the projected rate at which a creator is likely to post a shoppable video after receiving a sample. This is important. There might be some people out there that like get a whole bunch of samples, but they only make like 1 or 2 videos. You can actually see what is their post rate. So you can say, hey, how likely is it this person actually is going to make a video? Nobody's going to be 100%, but you don't want to choose somebody that might have 10%. And then what I like to do is I'll go to their actual TikTok page directly from this link. So I'll look at some of their products just to make sure, like, hey, the ones that they're getting good engagement on, is it similar to my product, or does their target audience like kind of vibe with mine? I see like this lady is into like a whole bunch of like spooky books and things. So, I mean, it's not a direct correlation to what I'm, selling, like coffin shelves. But hey, if somebody's into vampire romance books, they could probably, like a bat-shaped bath mat like I have, or a coffin-shaped shelf. And that was how I was able to find influencers to invite to my collaboration. But then by having my, I think you call it open collaboration, right? Mm-hmm. Also open, other ones could come to me who found my product organically. And usually the people who do that, like they must like the product. They're not going to say, hey, let me sell this, or let me show this coffin shelf to my audience of preteen unicorn decor or something like that. Like that's completely different market. And so they're a lot of times they're good potentials. And then I could select where I could say like, hey, let me approve who I'm going to send the sample to. Exactly. And I just have, like, you can see right here, I have this creator messages 6 I haven't read since yesterday, where these are creators trying to connect with my open collaboration, and they want to collaborate with me. So that's like something I think that's different than other platforms too.
Yes.
On other platforms, you've got to do all the work, and you still have to do work to find creators here, but you have to go find them. It's very rare that you get quality people coming to you saying, hey, I want to promote your product. That's exactly what TikTok Shop is doing here.
Exactly. And one thing I want to highlight while we're here too, that kind of breaks another like almost stereotype or myth about TikTok, is another thing that I don't know if you've thought about this, but I constantly get asked is people are like, well, isn't TikTok and TikTok Shop just for Gen Z? Another great thing as you're looking through the creators and deciding who to work with is here on the left, you'll actually get a little bit of like an audience breakdown where again, a lot of you have probably been doing business in other marketplaces, and you kind of know who's your demo, right? You can kind of see here, like, are they more male or female leaning? But you're also getting age ranges. And for what we're seeing here on the screen, you'll see that it's actually upwards of the 20-year-old crowd. We're looking at 35 to 44-year-olds. So I think that's another great way to highlight to anyone if you're worried that like your category isn't what you think would work well on TikTok Shop. Again, more data points and just examples of how you might actually be incorrect. And it's always worth looking at who aligns with who can sell your brand and the way you want it as well.
Now, we're definitely going to be talking about, advertising, doing paid advertising, things like that in the future. But the cool thing about TikTok Shop is I haven't done any of that yet. And I was still able to sell tons of products through this. Now, when we're used to other platforms to be at Amazon, sometimes our advertising spend might be 10, 15, 20, 30% of what we're selling. But that's something that you can now kind of like bake in a little bit differently. Like if your commission rate is 10%, you got to kind of like start budgeting for that. You have to give out some of these free samples to some of your target market. That's how you can budget. So you are saving a lot of money on the platform by not having to spend as much per se on advertising as maybe you're used to in Google ads or in Amazon advertising and things like that. And this method of reaching out to the influencers is, I think, a great way to get a really good bang for your buck when you're trying to promote your products. Now, what are some best practices for if I'm the one who's reaching out to creators? Like I could just, of course, just like slide into their TikTok DMs and just give some template of, hey, would you like to promote my product, blah, 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 blah. That's probably not best practice. What can you talk about that?
That's actually a really good question, especially if you think of reaching out to multiple creators, right? And so I think really the best advice is to keep it real. Especially as we're evaluating that we only want to work with quality creators, right? Or people that will make giving the sample worthwhile. These creators are getting a ton of target collaboration invites. And so you just have to think of ways to make yours stand out as you choose the creators who truly vibe with your brand. Really take a moment. Don't just like send a canned spam. Don't do the ChatGPT message. Take a moment to personalize the message. Why did you choose this product and match it with that creator's style? That way, and try to be funny, try to be engaging, warm, things we would want to see on the other end. That way yours kind of stands out from the noise of messages that they're getting, just to make sure that you don't just identify someone you want to work with, but it actually goes through into a great partnership.
All right, now I talked a little bit about, trying to budget, how much samples you're giving out and your commission and things. So talk a little bit about what kind of tracking and analytics I need to be, kind of like concerned with instead of just like, doing an Oprah thing. Say, you get a coffin shelf, you get a coffin shelf, you get a coffin shelf, you get 20%, you get 30%. What are some things I need to keep track of?
Yeah, and I think it's a great reminder, right? Where again, I'm highlighting it's so easy to work with creators. But again, you're kind of running the campaign, kind of like you said, and it's things to keep in mind. So you always want to track your performance. So monitoring your collaborations performance in Affiliate Center and adjusting your strategy based on what's working best, it's going to be crucial. And so sometimes this will include tactics like temporarily increasing the commission you're offering just to really get saturated in the marketplace, or similar actions. Or if you've been sending out samples and you're not seeing it, I think kind of like we pointed out, really taking the time to look through each creator and looking at the likelihood to post shoppable video. It's just things that you guys need to keep in mind. But one thing that I think is great is we've kind of chatted about how these are homegrown tools. It's only commission based and you only do it after it's sold. For those that are like, oh, you know what? Determining these creators, sending out the samples, guiding them on like talking points I want them to hit, monitoring performance, it's a little scary. There are other options where, again, here as we look at Affiliate Center, one of the things you always could do is look at the bottom here where we have these kind of agency partners. This is if you're willing to budget a bit more, because these are agencies that we partner with. You can actually start to review the top agency list, where these are kind of these new agencies that are springing up where they're used to growing their own personal community of creators. They're coaching them on what are like the hottest trends right now on TikTok to turn around videos that actually convert and increase sales. And they're used to that process of like, hey, what do you want us to say about those coffin shelves, so that we make sure we're guiding our creators to hit those same talking points. And so what's great is if you kind of want to take out some of that manual work, there are these agency initiated collaborations and campaigns where I think the biggest thing you'll notice is that the commission you have to offer grows, because that needs to offset some of the work that the agency's taking on. So you almost get like these two paths of like, do I want to run it by myself and run nimble? Or am I looking for some extra help, some expertise? We kind of have both, and you can play in both lanes to see what works best with your style.
All right, so we started off this section talking about making your own videos. Now we talked about working with creators out there. In our next module, we're going to talk about other ways that you can promote your product. So we'll see you in the next one.